Пуск. Так, як по звуку? Вроді би нормально. І Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Мені вже на початку запропонували там, ну я заходив в гру, потім вийшов і знову зайшов. Дуже подякували за те, що я встановив правильно час. Дуже велика подяка Тарасові з ніком Ponchika за представлену можливість пограти в цю красиву гру. І поїхали.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on the keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day, of every month, of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-wrenching, Stanley relished every moment that he orders came in, though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Оба! Оба! Ползком, ползком. Стрибок Space. Чи я не можу стрибати? No, seriously, we disable it. Partition Core. Providing partition for 56 років. I hate Mondays.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go any way except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Сука.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go any way except badly. The thing to do now,
Тепер
Stanley thought to
потрібно
himself,
тому
is
Стенлі
to
лише
wait.
чекати.
Nothing will hurt me.
Ніщо не
Nothing
зашкодить,
will break
ніщо не
me.
зламає
In
мене.
here I can be
Тут я
happy
можу бути
forever.
щасливий
I will
назавжди.
be
Я буду
happy.
щасливий.
Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Ти, блядь, знову перезагрузив мене, єбаний рет. Бля.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Опачки, то що таке? Waiting input. Опа. Щось нажав. А чого я не можу пригати? Алло? Shift не пробіл не працює. Хе-хе-хе.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office.
Чутливість камери. 4. Ну, є спейс, а чого вона не
But
працює?
it didn't make a single difference,
можу пригнути?
nor did it advance the story in any way.
Так треба. Блін. Все, не буду ні до чого торкатися. Можливо. Жалко, не можна предмети піднімати. Опа. Я сховав. Джамп не буде? Бля, а чого він є? Чого він в настройках є?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Ні, я прямо.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Картка. А де в мене карточка? У мене нема карточки. А, взаємодія ще є одна. Стрибок на спейс.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting,
Деким
Stanley.
знехтував, Стенлі.
Someone you've
Деким
forgotten
про
about.
кого ти забув.
Please,
Прошу, припини
stop trying
намагатися
to make
зробити
every
кожен
decision
вибір
by yourself.
самостійно.
Now, I'm not
Я
asking for
прошу не
me,
заради себе, я
I'm
прошу
asking for
заради
her.
неї.
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside. to let her back into your
І
life.
класти роботу.
She's been waiting.
Твого життя, вона тебе чекала. Хто? Де? Ти, бля...
That's her,
Алло.
Stanley. You need to be the one to do this.
Алло? Алло? Ух ти.
Oh, Stanley, is that you?
Та
Hold
я.
on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm
Та
just pulling
ладно.
the bread out of the oven.
Та я зараз піду по
Alright.
хліб.
Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your
Бля.
Gotcha! Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something.
Єба.
Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Ну давай, зайду.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Натисни F?
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and
Бля,
every
він
button
не
that he
закрив.
pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
F, на F. F. Є. Відкрий мене. А хулі, нам до дверей не відпускай. Зато плазма є. А хулі тут взагалі робить крісло? Ну взагалі тут ніяким боком не цього, бо... Бля, на
Look at
тобі
him
о.
there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
На тобі
But in his
гаш.
mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth.
Хулі так
The
світло за
thought
вікном.
excited him terribly.
А хулі, не натисни. Кварц. Двадцять одна хвилина по 11. Бля, стрілка вроді би переміщається навіть. Ну от не хочу я тиснути на кнопку. А годинник спеціально поставили для того, щоб я від нервування натиснув все-таки. І мене кажуть, щоб напрягати мене.
Все, що тобі потрібно, це знайти відро у цій грі.
Відро? Бля, ну кльова музичка, ё-моё. Бляха, вже скоро 5 хвилин пройде, чи вже? Ну майже. 4 хвилини пройшло. Ладно, буде 5, я натисну на це. До речі, мені звук теж їбашить по вухах, ну типа. Ти не один. Треба страдати. Бля, ну диви, який впертий оратор, бляха, ну. Блять, ну. 30 секунд. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, і 18, і 19, і 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30.
So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Ладно, послухай його, не тиць. Ці більш філософії, ніж я почув за 4 роки в універі. Да, в нас в універі теж є один філософ. Не один, двоє.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe
Що
this
ж,
time
може
you'll
цього разу
see.
він побачить.
Maybe
Може,
this
цього
time.
разу.
And I tried again.
Помри. І я спробував
Stanley
знову.
pushed a button.
Стенлі натиснув
And I
кнопку.
tried again.
І я спробував
And
знову.
Stanley pushed a
Стенлі
button.
натиснув кнопку.
And I tried.
Все, піздець. Вимкнути наступного разу телефон. Не буду закривати двері.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
А є якийсь порядок? Можна вимкнути комп'ютери? О, бля, той комп'ютер вже вимкнутий. 4.2.1, ну-ка. Гец. Гец. І гец. Ладно, йду вмикати телефон.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Хе-хе. Я війшов.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow. Yes.
Oh.
This room. What a beautiful room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Цікава кімнатка.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for... This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley. You... Oh, no, you can't... Did you just unplug the phone? Now, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly. I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check. No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person. I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional video.
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person. But if used incorrectly, can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Rupert has a choice. He could invent a machine that eliminates food shortages across the world to make life better for all people. Or he could spend years of hard work forgetting how to read. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back, sack, and crack." Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process.
Ля там. Крокодильчик кусає.
Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Ah, welcome back. You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision-making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please.
Сюди, будь ласка. Danger. Everywhere. Бляха, але я повзу помаленьку. Що то за херня? А, назад вже все. Дорога закрита. Ліфт загороджений.
Now that we know your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying. Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story. That story would make no sense at all. We just need to get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
Бля. Ні, ну типа скакати, бляха, не можна. Ні, ну в мене одне питання, як ящики заїхали більше, ніж на третю полицю? Ну, типа, бля. На, да. Вибору тупо не лишає. 25 по 11. Ну, годинник прям напрягає, да. Тут вверху я не можу зупинити.
Almost there. You'll take the door on the left, back to the correct ending, the story will have resolution once again, and you'll be home free in the real world.
А я зараз буду тут стояти. Кутик. І що він мені зробить? Бля. Ну, окей, окей. Не, ну вихід є. А він його закрив.
Now remember, all you need to do is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left. No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back in the other direction. Perhaps we're not too late.
Ебать, скукожило тупо. Ух, ебать, верки, конечно. Бля, аж звук. Де там звук? Вот это. Звук аж кукожить, тупо. В текстурках. Ух ты, бля. Я в текстурках. Взагалі крісло влізло. Теж в текстурочки. Ладно, він все-таки хоче. Тактика. Стояти в кожній кімнаті по 10 хвилин, це, звісно, Сіма плей. Ладно, ми війшли в його двері. Не лишив вибору.
Oh, it's ruined. I can't believe after everything we talked about that my story, you destroyed my work. Why? For what?
Для чого?
What did you get out of that? What did you think was so special about seeing the game undone, left here like so much garbage? It's worthless now. And what am I supposed to do? Even if there were a way to continue, would it be worth it? To know that my story is now incorrect? How can I go back to that? I can't erase that knowledge. I'll have to live with it forever, reliving its impossibility forever. I couldn't live that way. Is it better to shut the game down entirely? To willingly destroy all of my work? I don't know. What's the answer? What do I do? What do I do? What do I... No, I have to. I have to shut the game down. I have to. I have to.
Бля. О! Єба.
I'm here. I'm still here in this pile of rubbish, with you, who thought you were so clever. Now look where we are. My entire game is destroyed. It was the only thing in the world that was mine, and you run it into the ground. What, did you think that would be funny?
Маяло
You
бути
just had to
весело.
see?
Цікава була справа.
Didn't I impress
Так.
upon you how
Ніби
important it
достатньо
was to
чітко
be
пояснив,
like
наскільки
Stanley?
важливо було поводитися
He
як
actually knows how to
Stanley.
do what I
Він
tell him
справді
to.
вміє робити
He
те, що
understands that if I say
вказує.
to
Він
do
розуміє, що
something,
якщо я
there's a
кажу
damn
щось
good
робити,
reason for
то
it.
на це є достатньо
That
багато
thought
причин.
hadn't even
Ця
occurred
думка
to you,
твоєго
had it?
голівку
That there's a
заглядала,
world
і
outside
що
of
поза
you?
тобою є світ.
You're a
Ти
child.
дитя.
Oh,
Моя
my
історія.
story. If you'd just gone through the door on the left, you would have seen it. There was a whole underground facility. You would have destroyed it and been victorious. It would have been so perfect. I worked so hard on it. I tried so hard to make it behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back. Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Один, два, три, 4, 5, 6. Б. 4, 5, 6. Б. 4, 5, 6. Б. І 7, 8, 9, 0. 7, 8, 9, 0. 7, 8, 9, 0. Ту-ру-ру-ту. Тут ще якісь цифри є. 5, 6, 7. 5 і 7 і 8, 9, 0. А вже нічого не пизди.
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back. Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
І я... Опана.
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back. Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ага, блядь. Ага. Не повністю ламаю гру, блядь. Повністю.
No! Why did you do that? Quickly,
Встиг
hurry
двері
back.
закрити. Майже.
Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ладно, зайди сюди. Все. Вже не пускає.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Я що знайде відповідь там. What is hot? Target demographic. Divakers. Teenagers. A lot of percent. Everyone is unique. You must have all. Number of slides on these slides. Charts and slides. Ах, ти ж падло, закривай.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Вниз не можна спуститися. Ля, вікно. Хіба тут було вікно? Ладно, до боса так до боса. Пейдж. Два телефончика, буз листай.
Stepping inside his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this until he saw the door with a voice receiver next to it. Surely behind this door lay all the answers to his questions. And beyond all probability, he knew the passcode. He had seen it on his boss's computer just last week. Night Shark 115. Was this the code to open the door? Would it still work? There was only one way to find out. Stanley had been trained never to speak up, but now he would draw from within himself the courage to face the unknown. He drew a sharp breath and then spoke the code.
Панда кунг-фу, блядь, панду зараз застрілять.
Stanley spoke the code. Night Shark 115. He spoke it into the receiver, right there on the wall. I'm sorry, is there a problem? You didn't mishear me, did you? Please speak the code into the receiver. Otherwise, we can't get on with the story. This is a crucial step.
Living крок. Ладно.
Okay, fine. You're not going to do it, but you know what? It's pretty humiliating to bring you this far, only for you to suddenly decide you have better things to do. I asked you for this one single thing, for your respect. The kind of respect Stanley shows for his choices. He knows what it means to take a story seriously. If you didn't want to see what I had to show you, then why did you come here? You had a choice, you know. You could have gone through the door on the right. You could have done whatever the hell you wanted over there. Why did you come this way? Speak. Say something to me. Explain yourself, you coward. You... When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ебать, нахуй, ко мне лице.
Stanley? Hello? Are you... Is everything okay? Stanley, please. I need you to make a choice. I need you to walk through the door. Are you listening to me? Can you hear me? Is everything all right? Stanley, this is important. The story needs you. It needs you to make a decision. It cannot exist without you. Do you understand me? Whatever choice you make is just fine. They're both correct. You cannot be wrong here. We can work together. I'll accept whatever you do. I simply need you to take that step forward, please. Choose. Do something. Anything. This is more important than you can ever know. I need this. The story needs it. So, you hear me? Are you there? Are you listening to this? Stanley, are you there? Okay. It's okay, I can wait. You need time to decide. Time to make sure your choice is correct. That is the best choice. That's all right. I'll wait for you to decide what's the right thing to do.
It's Little Jenkins. Єбать, взагалі не рухається. Хе, мені дещо цікаво повторити.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
А десь перед тим я літаю там в облаках, дивлюся на майбутнього себе.
Stanley just stood there doing nothing at all. He seems to think I have nothing better to do with my time than to sit around and describe every fascinating little detail of his inability to do anything. This is why Stanley and I are on such good terms.
Я його виведу з себе трохи. Ну і, конечно, мій вибір сюди.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Через червоні двері. Нема ніякої карточки. Синь.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door. All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? because I did.
Думав, що я
And in
вклав
the
це
end, it
багато
was
часу,
all
і
for
зрештою
nothing,
все було
because
на
this is what you wanted to
ось
see.
що ти хотів
Help
побачити.
me here,
Допоможи
Stanley.
мені,
Help
Стенлі.
elucidate
Поможи
these strange and unknowable desires of
бажання
yours.
100
What would have
800
made this game better? What did you
Що
want
ти
to
хотів
see?
побачити? Транспортні
Vehicles?
засоби,
Skilled
дерева,
trees?
навич.
Work with me. You've given
Працюй
me
зі мною. Поки
absolutely
що ти
nothing so
абсолютно нічим
far.
не допоміг.
Tell you what.
Ось що я
Let me take a
скажу.
stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some
Ти
feedback.
скажеш свою думку з цього
There
приводу?
we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
Сука, ручку забрав, блядь.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
Rate your experience. Давай, блядь, ну,
Oh, of
троечка.
course. A 3. Really?
Валва
Maybe
не
next
любить
time we
тройки.
can get you to form an actual opinion, you know? Any level of critical thinking or engagement with your surroundings? Does that sound good? Think we can do that? Yes? Wonderful. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
The Stanley Parable Worldwide Leaderboard. Ніхуя собі. Моніторчик повішав. Блядь, ну пиздец двері на. Опа, блядь. Сука, закрив двері все.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience. You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot. Ah, fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Бля, як же ж ця гра називається? Firewatch. Точно, Firewatch. А чого вона тут як волонтер позначена? Волонтер. Це lookout. Cookbook. Нічого не шмякається. Тра-та-та, що там пише? Fire. Watches. The Firewatch? Fire hatches the Firewatch. Fire. Оля. Оля. Wyoming. Календар. Кльош пише. Ні, ну тут не можна нічого натиснути. А спуск? Ух ти ж. А є спуск. Я просто не туди зайшов. Firewatch. Я колись її хотів взяти.
Oh no. No, it can't be.
Ля, єба. Красота. Яка туалетна мода є.
It is. It's an
Це
open
гра з
world
відкритим
game.
світом.
Good God,
Боже
quickly,
мій,
block it off.
Ах ти ж
Thank
падла,
goodness,
ну.
Stanley, what a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing. That big, open, just wandering around, no right or wrong directions, no path to follow. You can just go in
Маршрут
any...
можна заплести в будь-який.
Oh, thank heavens
Як
we
добре, що
avoided
ми
it.
це...
We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing. Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
Ну да.
Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Йопошки, воропошки, там м'яч. О, я пришвидшення маю.
Hold on.
Бля. Бля.
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you.
Я не зможу.
How will you write a
Як
story
написати
without me?
сюжет
You
без
can't
мене?
do it. You know that.
Вийдеш.
Stanley,
Стелі, повернись, у нас досі є стільки. Філінг кабінет. Що тут, блядь, твориться? А, бля. А я можу заховати. Заховався. Заховався. Стелс. Мені то нагадало КС 1.6. От іменно от та стіночка. О, світло в кінці тунелю. Опачки, блядь, а що там таке, на? А можна якось приблизити? А, от зараз ближче буде. Камери спостереження. Якась херня відкрита. Не понял. Оу.
I wonder what he found.
Цікаво, що він знайшов.
If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
Я можу почекати. Сука, закрив мені нахуй. Ага, загрузив мене.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
YOLO, блядь.
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley, oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you. What do we want? What are we looking for? Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley... No, wait. Where are you going?
Ля, малюнка. Дитятка якась.
Oh, no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this. Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me. Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing.
Ну все, пиздец.
No! Oh, thank God you lived. No, no, no. What are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this? Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me?
Я щораз
My
тим
God.
повільніше йду.
Is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly?
Бля, єбать, ледве йду, да.
Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours.
Що ж роби? А я не піду робити. А може й піду. Єбать, піздець. Ну, в присідках взагалі не ходить. Я в ахуї. Ні, зараз оратор наблюдає за цим всім. До речі, що це за дверка, бляха? Ой, якщо так, то скоріше чуть-чуть. Опа!
Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
Що буде, якщо я помаленьким шагом назад вернуся?
Wait, Stanley thought to himself. Am I sure that the orders stopped coming in?
Як це можливо?
How is that
Чи це
possible?
було не
They
слабо?
never stopped.
Безперечно,
Surely I was
я
mistaken.
помилився.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was grand, majestic, perhaps, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Максимум
Look, Stanley,
протиріч.
I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all
Важливо,
this
щоб не
time.
розбитися. І
There's someone
тобто,
you've been neglecting,
якщо
Stanley.
я правильно
Someone you've forgotten
розрахую,
about. Please, stop trying to make... What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for
Поличка
others?
виглядає
Are you
більш,
that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you?
воно
Why?
так спригне.
But in his eagerness to
Ні,
prove that he is
ні.
in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Хреново.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. And here it was, the lounge. What a room, Stanley thought to himself. What? But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked
Ні,
through the
не
red door.
нельзя. Поняв.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley, oh thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you.
А, там ті двері. Також відкрилось. Ну-ка. Опанчики.
What do we want? What are we looking for? Here.
Опач.
Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? No, wait.
Куда
Where are
ти
you going?
йдеш? О,
Oh, no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this. Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me. Please, Stanley. No! Oh, no. No, no, what are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this?
Баги, бля.
Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me? My God, is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly?
Да. Так. І тепер виходжу.
Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. Do you actually want to stay alive? Or are you just teasing me?
Аж позеленілося.
I wanted us to be happy here, Stanley. I really did. I wish I still thought that was possible.
Yeah, bye. Красиво. красиво, красиво, блять, тепер топати так довго. А з платформи нельзя впасти. Не. Пізді. Там в мене, до речі, нормалізувався біг. А, я задом можу йти нормально. Непродумана гра. Ще пару кінцівок могли додати. Я повзу. Опа, Ямакаси. Фью.
Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
А тут що є? Нічого. Нічого.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go,
Ultra Edition?
From here, it's, left.
Так, Ультра Делюкс в мене? Ультра Делюкс запущений. А, я провтикав, що він сказав. Закрив двері вже, гад.
Oh, no. No, it's to the right. My mistake. No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh, dear. Would you hold on for a minute, please?
Знову шарудит.
Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep. Okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way. No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my
But,
time trying to
cabinet?
salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, hmm? Okay, from the top.
427. 427.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Так, ну... в мене ще є один вибір.
When Stanley... Wait, what?
Ах ти ж
No,
пару.
no, I restarted. I swear, I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be...
Усе має бути.
Oh, did something
щось змінилося?
change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
По суті, в яку би я кімнату не зайшов, все одно би було те ж саме.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
427.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything? Aha! I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes. No, wait, never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
Ой, бля.
Now this... Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all.
Це що,
Is
хан?
this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley?
Бля.
Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job. Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time, I have to restart. All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line. Just follow the line. How simple is that? No, I'm down. We're living it up to the line from now on.
Все, тільки по лінії. Опачки, хтось пасьянсик робить. А як я... Я завжди міг переходити скрізь крісла? Ні. А от пасьянсик я можу зробити. Ну майже. Yeah.
You see? The line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story?
А можно чуть-чуть розмір субтитрів? Не можна.
Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Okay, Stanley, I need to follow this train of thought for a minute. Just stick with me. Now, we can both agree that the nature of existence is in fact a byproduct of one's subjective experience of that existence, right? Okay, now if my experience of your existence rests inside of your subjective experience of this office, is this office in fact the skeleton of my own relative experiential mental subjective construct? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
Ну давай. Да, поставили прямо. Mayday.
Wait, cut the music, go back and look at that fern. Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
Опачки.
No, not
427.
again. Line, how could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
Бля, не дав подивитися гад. Ех.
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Oh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
О, то що треба.
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be?
Сука.
Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it.
О. Не понял. Замало прийшов.
Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it. We should be
Просто не
fine.
визнай це. Визнай це. Бля, мені от нагадало оце от іменно ситуація з порталом. Де все почалося накриватися мітним тазом. Як тобі гра? Бляха, ну... Я бачив її.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
Що я хотів сказати, так це те, що я колись давніше бачив пару відосів по цій грі, і, так сказати, я знаю, що від неї очікувати. І тобто, вона колись на мене враження такі склала вау, а зараз, коли вже цій грі стало пару років, мені подобається. Але от цього вже вау нема. Якщо я покружляю. Бо я знаю, що очікувати від неї.
Hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait, you know. I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story, wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination, so I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you do...
Бля.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Вже два не працює. Ще два лишилось. New content.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Там знову вибір з двома дверима. О, поїхали. Гордон Фрімен.
thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
Я бачу там двері, нах. Це що за бумажки? Meeting of Internal Revenue Analysis for Committers of Royal Revenue Dissension Club. Щось пише. Ладно.
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if the... Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Content!
All right, let's see, it's... the jump circle?
Yeah, va! Ah! Ah!
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
А чого не можна, що тільки на місці пригає? Все. По контенту ви настрибалися.
Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh wait, there's more. Very good. Yes, I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Thank you for enjoying the
That's
new
it?
content.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Ну давай. Сука, стрибки не дав. Картинку повіс.
Psst. Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Ліз вентиляції. Бляха, як він помаленьку.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
Там він щось хуйню якусь поставив. О. What is it?
I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
На ПК.
You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
National Geographic Cargo. Shapes. Time. It's time to stop. Наклеєно тобі, бля. Ого. А що видно? Долар видно. Stanley Parable. Our first kiss, my first car, the release of the Stanley Parable in 20. Блять, як буде 13. Чого ти так повільно? У мене він швидко рухається. Гизу в мене, ну, типа, максимальна скорість, ну, типа. Шифта нема. Все платівки. Dollar. Begin the demo option. Wait. New video game releasing today. Stanley Parable deals to choice. Little Stanley, блячий скомачок. Loving memory. Бля, я думав, третьої не буде поруч.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Що там? Стіл. О, портал. Mind Control Facility. Portal. Let's begin again. Майнкрафт. Ну, відсилок тут на інші ігри, я так поняв, багато. І я, напевно, ще й багато пропустив. Person of the Year. То типа я. Stanley. То я так поняв, як робилася гра, щось типа того. Force Code Q. Це я дивлюся на себе. Монітор. Але в інший. Точніше, він дивиться на мене, в інший монітор. 29 чогось.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games, and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
9 з 10. О. Бляха, сюди двері відкрилися, а зайти ніяк. Навіть нема маленького того ящичка. І прыжків так само.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Steam reviews. Там зараз грязь полиється. Not recommended.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Not recommended, not recommended. Відро, от знайшов відро. До речі, відро, а? Ні, ну тут більше відер не бачу, ну по суті, ну, вроді... Ну відро, що ручка є, містке, ну кришка зверху ще на відрі. Ну, типа...
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy, honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much
І
fluff
гад
I
не
cut
маєш,
from the
скільки
game
всього
to
я
get it to
вирізав
feel
із
as
гри, щоб
light
в
an
неї легко
area as it...
гралося. Ну,
Well,
я
I
вважав,
always
що
thought it
грати
did,
в неї легко.
but maybe it wasn't.
Схоже, помилився.
Oh dear.
Ой, леле.
What an
Який
awful
жахливий
memory to have to
спогад
hold on to.
зачаївся.
These black marks are
Чорні
my otherwise
плями на моїй
unimpeachable track record.
білосніжній
I feel
репутації. Почуваюся
like a failure.
невдахою. Ніби
Like I let these people
підвів
down.
цих людей.
Perhaps the Stanley
Може, Stanley
parable
Parable
isn't
така
quite as
шикарна, як
sterling
я
as I
собі думав.
always remembered.
Відра? А яке має бути відро, я не розумію. Опа, чайка. Ого. Опа.
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Є, можна воду попробувати.
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No, 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 no. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah, 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, no, until 245. Got the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say... the story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah, 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, no, until 245. Got the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say... the story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah, 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, no, until 245. Got the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say... the story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah, 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, no, until 245. that the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say, the story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once. So now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet. No, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say, the story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once. So now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet. No, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before
Короче, я
lunchtime.
понял, він
It
то
can't
додому
be.
буде.
It's the only... Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly, and you can tell me what you think. Okay, so my theory is that any choice you've ever made is simply a series of choices made by the person who you are, or were, or will be at the time of having made said choice. That is to say, if by articulating a choice you've already made, you bring that choice into being, then by... Well, there's sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof! Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes. Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer, and my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is... Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time, just sitting here, not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking, and you saying nothing. Oh, hello, it's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you, and about us, and about everything we've...
Змінилося? Висох вазоночок. Все в ахуї, там взагалі мовчить. Або помер. Що пікає? Сигналізація.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. This is the story of a man named Stanley. But then, he's talking too much, they say. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability, it's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world, as though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. But of course...
А час зупинився, я так поняв, так? Та, пиздец. На першу годину став.
The end is never the end, 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 is never the end.
Взагалі тече труба. Пиздец. Обвалюється все. Еть. Пізда вазоночку. О! Світло. І то якесь херватеньке. Скільки вже часу пройшло? Мухи якісь є. Папоротник. Апокаліпсис. Ще більше землі насипало. Єба. Не можна. Пустиня. Fallout. Нью-Вегас. В прямому ефірі. А все, типа, не можу натиснути кнопку. Кек. Телефон дзвонить.
Good morning. Thank you for contacting the Future Happiness Foundation. We are confirming your shipment of 1,327 cardboard boxes to your place of work. Can you verify that this is correct? Excellent. Your order will arrive shortly. Thank you again for contacting the Future Happiness Foundation.
Foundation? Нема оповідача. Все, останній. Останній. Новинки UFC. New content. А якщо?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Бля, я походу скіпнув.
It was okay.
Я маю.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first
Yes,
open door
yes.
on his left.
Ладно, є один варіант.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Yeah.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Єбать, коробок наложив мені. Через escape reload. Ага. Ну-ка, новий
Oh,
контент.
good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to
Новенький.
show you.
Віо. New content.
You see, Stanley, I've been
Yo,
reflecting on the
Mirko.
Stanley parable and about how roundly
Деяким
disappointing
великим
this
шаром
ultra-deluxe
версія
version has
Ultra
turned out
Deluxe.
to be. The original Stanley parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley
Stanley
Parable
Parable
2.
2. The end is never as an end again.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for. Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential. Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Wow. Через
Here we
escape
are.
можна.
Go on, try out some of the new features.
Я поняв, яке відро.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in
David Roth.
those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on, don't they? All this and more awaits you in the Stanley Parable 2. Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Як воно охуєнно звучить. Все, потім завжди бери його з собою.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
Які тобі до вподоби? Happy 12 день народження, Степніс. Get Well Someday. Блядь, біле.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Happy 12th birthday, Stepniece, it is.
Ясно.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
О, а що там? Як вона охуєнно рухається, те відро,
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is, in fact, a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time, if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
Що тут є? Нахуя ми на мені? Те відро. Ну ладно, з відром. Опа!
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward.
А я ще попадаю трошки.
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things.
Бля, кажись, є кінець все-таки.
Okay, Stanley, I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Hey, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole.
New
You
mark.
found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready.
Ти подвійний брехун. Ти не будеш чекати мене на горі, ти просто будеш голос подавати. Брехуньо.
Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel. Oh, for heaven... You see, I was right. The problem is you. The problem is that you like holes too much. Not normal. A normal person would have said, yep, that's an infinite hole right there, goes on forever till the end of time. Don't need to see it all, but not you. Oh, no, 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 no. You have a weird sort of... Oh. Did the hole seem even shorter to you this time? I couldn't help but feel like you spent a little less time in there than you did before. I mean, admittedly, I didn't make an infinite hole, but I didn't think it was that not infinite. Well, I suppose once again there's nothing to do here. If you decide you've had enough of the hole, you can hit the teleport button and come join me up above.
Управляти, є-моє.
Had enough? I'm positively thrilled. I really do have so much more to show you and to talk about, and I've had enough of the hole for a lifetime. Gosh, how could I have guessed? You're back in the hole. If this starts to become a thing where... Okay, yes. I'm starting to become extremely certain that the hole is not only not infinite, but that it's growing steadily less and less infinite. I suspect that I'm starting to hit the point where it's no longer feasible to call the hole infinitely deep, even by the lax overall standards for accountability and marketing. What's going on here? Stanley, I have no explanation for the uncertain nature of the hole's length. Here, let's try something. Let's pop back up to the top, and we'll see if it gets any shorter. Well, there it is. The shame of my lie has come to haunt me. Not only is the hole not infinite, but it's barely even a hole at this point. It's more of a concave. How is this still appealing to you? I know you're obsessed with holes, but at this depth, I just can't see this scratching the itch. Oh, who am I to judge? You just do whatever it is you're here to do and hit the teleport button when you're ready to move on.
Тут от хватало би пробільчик один нажати і перестрибнути.
Is the teleport button not working? You sure? Well, I mean, I really don't have an explanation. It was working just a moment ago. Try it again. Still nothing? Well, I suppose there is one thing I can do to fix this. I'm out. Goodbye, Stanley. You couldn't bear to be away from the hole, and now you'll get more time with it than you could ever have asked for. It's a win for everyone. You get to be with the hole, I get to do literally anything else. Take care, Stanley. I hope you and the hole have a wonderful rest of eternity together.
Бля, дав мені відро, нахуй, сказав, давай-ка попробуємо в дирку впасти. А давай. Ну, захопився, ну з ким не буває. Відро кинь. О. Ріп. Ні, я опускаюся. відром. Помийну діру. Єбать, тінь відра як міняється. F, змініть вид. Ого. З відром. Якийсь Стенлі. Просто діра, але скільки контенту. Змініть сприйняття. Оп. Опа! Здавалося б діра, але скільки контенту. Бляха, я хочу музику назад, собака, перекачив.
Stanley! Oh, good, you're awake. It seems you had sort of dozed off there, drifting away into dreamland. But we can't have that, Stanley, because this hole is just so darn fascinating that I want you to be wide awake for every second of it. You don't want to miss a single moment. So how about if I just pop in from time to time and wake you up to keep you really, truly focused on the hole? From the looks of things, you and I will have many years here in this hole, and I'm looking forward to all of them. Stay alert, Stanley. I'll be back. Toodle-pip.
Давай знову. Я готовий. Ну, воно буде випуск? Бля, взяв мене перезагрузив. Ну є-має. Почало щось подобатися.
Here we are. Go on. Try out some
То
of
вже
the...
розширена версія. Вітрозаспокоювання, кнопка, яка промовляє ім'я гравця, що грає в гру. Бля, ну я хочу глянути, які там ще можливості є. Дивіться. Хоча я її вже не знайду. Free, new, easy, achievement. Ачівочки.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as simple as that.
Як він казав, що це за гра, яка дає тест ачівку? Що це за хуйня?
Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Бля, не доповнили контент. Падла. Тут взагалі нічого немає. Не. Контент пішло.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Що таке? Лізнув скріншот.
Come now. You've already made your choice. It's true that you chose badly, but we all have to move on from our mistakes.
Ну ладно. Мерч. Що тут же? А, вот куда я хотел. Fine, it ended. Я все чув, до зустрічі у суді. Скріншот. А більше не можна туди. Бля. То я. It's me, Mario. Так. Тут що?
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
Один із 6. Бля, ну нахера мені ці фігурки, йо-моє. Мене ж. Якесь світло завісить.
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Він гад спеціально якусь фігурку не добавить.
All right, have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
Бля, що за портфель? Знов скріншот. Де там, бля?
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on, let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait. Maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2." Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead.
Perfect.
Take a look.
Все перезагрузив. Ого! Бля. Ну, пиздати настройки, я.
This is the story of a man named Stan. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Ну, як же ж без відра-то?
Stanley picked up the bucket.
Все, я не зможу більше.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room. And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door. Oh, good Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually. You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it. Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well. Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue? Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers. It's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up. Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer.
Yeah.
I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready. Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the bucket destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
Ba-bow.
The Bucket Destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Відро. Зникла перегородка.
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this... No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift. Good,
said the bucket.
now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Ведро. Бля, тут тоже кульки. Danger everywhere.
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there.
No
it says,
buckets.
no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket.
Це сюжет вже так закрутився. якщо не зайду? Не хочу. Ну хрен з тобою. Is this a bucket?
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket?
Ні.
Correct. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Бля.
Item 2. Is this a bucket?
Ні.
Correct. It is a 3D printed recreation of a
Але
bucket,
все-таки
not an
відро.
actual bucket. Item 3. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a bucket.
Бля, ну туда.
Item 4. Is this a bucket?
Так.
Are you hallucinating? This is a tractor. It's an enormous machine that tills the earth. I thought this was a gimmick. How on earth did you manage to screw it up? Absolutely incredible. Let's just move on to the next one. Is this a bucket?
Так.
Correct. This is a bucket.
Бля. Пофіг, це відро.
Item 6. Is this a bucket?
Жалко. Не можна зійти глянути поближче.
Trick question. Both.
Спіймався
Gotcha.
пасти. Так і ні.
Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere. Okay, you and I both know there isn't anything here. And I don't appreciate the implication that nothing is a bucket when we both clearly know that a bucket is something, and therefore nothing could possibly be something. Unless, in your twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a bucket is nothing? Answer me straight, Stanley. Do you believe that nothing is a bucket? You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely. Okay, here we go. What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket.
Я чую, що в
My
мене є
God,
відро.
I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not
В мене
buckets.
відра.
Yes, I actually feel much more at
не
ease right
будемо
now. It's
баб.
delightful to get some clarity on that
Бо
issue,
ми
but it doesn't change the
не
fact
відра.
that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go. Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was. The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Куда? Сучка.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
А внизу що є? Опа!
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried.
Наліпки не забрав.
So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
А я вже не можу зафорнутися.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him. Stanley! Stanley, it's me! The bucket!
Моє
Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket. Come to me, Stanley. Find me. He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out. This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Чого?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
Сальто вона хуяра. Ну, якщо так подумати, відерце. Відро.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
А зараз без відра хто метить? Не лише Стенлі. А до цього ми стали Стенлі з відром. А вот і вона.
Warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his arms again, he was home. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
А якщо?
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be.
Ладно.
No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room. And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Meeting room. How we can find some. А тут нема? Статуетки. Mission status. Ага, два я знайшов. A large room, lots of boxes. Somewhere was red and blue, nearby a fireplace, a private but smelly place for... О, тут наклейки, да?
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh, no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait. Now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it. Okay, I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go. There. Now it's settled. No more debate, no more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things. All right, I've got a second sticker back here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate. You see? I feel that it works because the sticker is also a bucket. That way, if you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself, "Ah, it's a bucket." There really is a wide variety of applications for this sticker.
Більше наліпок не дасть мені?
You know what? I could take the name-calling and the dismissal of your kinship with the bucket, but now the broom closet is just giving us the silent treatment. And to be honest, I'm sick of the pettiness on display. You can stay here all you like, but I've had it with this impetulant room of cleaning supplies. Easily the most childish such room I've ever been in. I'll see you outside, and we can get on with the story about you and your bucket.
Взяв, встав з крісла і пішов. Ні, більше наклеїв нема. Алло. Наклейку ще одну.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Ладно, до боса піду. Executive vessel. Опа.
Another miniature Stanley figurine.
So,
This,
figurka Stanley.
there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini stands? Stanley figs.
Stanley figs.
What about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Stanley. I've got the feeling money is for stealing, but not you, of course. So, it's a lovely purse. Set. Опа. Хай, Мітіко. Познайомися, це відро. А я Стенлі. Це любиме відро. Це супер любиме відео. Не понял. Щось я тихий. Вона повністю викрутив. Може гра? Заголосна. На 80 її опустим. То, до речі, Stanley Parable 2 вже. Коротше, ліфт в нікуди. А, і до речі, це любиме відро. Якщо мене не було чути. Це супер любиме відро.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would.
The best bucket.
And he knew it.
It's
The two of them were
goddamn
inseparable.
right.
At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the pin number for the keypad was 2845.
2845.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Тисячі
2845.
Бля, 2, 8, 5, 6. Як же ж там казав? Я тут трохи буду слухати, відкрила Мортхау нарешті. О, вітаю.
Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself, and Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Це супер відро мене сюди привело. О, ще одна фігурка Стенлі. Четверта фігурка Стенлі. Міні Стенлі.
What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
Так, ну. У нас є ліфт. Ліфт з халфи.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Що я можу зробити? Ух ти, бля. Тортик. Типа тортик.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Escape, нарешті,
Although
вихід.
this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
Неправда, там
The
вихід.
door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
Невимовно болюча смерть. Опа, опа, опа. Опа, опа, опа. І але оп. Ой, бля.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise,
Oh, yeah.
Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had
Тепло
turned
відра.
out to be.
Тепло
To be
діла.
sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself,
Вон там моє
and he
вихід.
sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
Оп.
Farewell,
Ah.
Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end as it was crushed violently to death.
Stanley Parable.
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are
Де моє
radiant in
відро?
their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
Це було найкраще відерце. Вони забрали його. А це зал пам'яті відра. Відро. Вітаю вас на великій виставці. Ви стоїте перед прірвою знань. Як і відро, людський розум часто буває пустим, абсолютно порожнім. Але завдяки виставці, що чекає попереду, розум наповнюється. Збагатиться та зміцниться. Знання про відро та його історію – це єдине істинне знання, яким ми володіємо. Чи понесете ви у світі ті знання, які тут отримаєте? Чи сприймете неупереджену суперечливу інформацію на цій виставці? Чи зміните своє життя та життя своїх близьких після відвідин цієї виставки? Або ж проігноруєте все та продовжите жити, як жили до цього у невіданій темряві? Відро the best of the best of the best.
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the
Бачите, що
bucket
відро
is
набагато
far more
величніше,
noble
аніж
than
Стенлі міг би
Stanley will
стати за
ever
все
be in
своє
his
нікчемне
short life?
життя. Картина 25 відер. Фотографія 25 відер найбільшої кількості відер, коли-небудь зафіксованої на камеру. Фотограф пережив кількатижневий кататонічний ступор, який спричинила ейфорія від такої кількості одночасно побачених відер. Кататонік. Так, кататонічний ступор. Форма шизофренії, яка характеризується психомоторними розладами. Рідкісна форма зустрічається у 1-3% хворих на шизофренії. Типовими проявами цього захворювання є кататонічний ступор і кататонічне збудження. При кататонічному ступорі хворі можуть перебувати в одному положенні тіла годинами, днями або навіть тижнями, не реагуючи на зовнішній світ. Да. Ну тут більше, ніж 25 відер. Так, тут що? О! Відро да Вінчі? Відро з двома ручками. Це відро зображено з двома ручками. Цей дизайн так і не реалізували, оскільки його вважають надто небезпечним і безрозсудно експериментальним. Щороку страчують десятки людей лише за спробу відтворити його. Відро з двома ручками. Бляха, як все естетично, файно, прям стильово, а що там має? Я туди попаду. О, пекельне відро. Блях. Я не можу заглянути, що там всередині. Копія пекельного відра, яке в часи середньовіччя було таким бажаним, що десятки держав розпочинали війни за право контролювати над ним. Мільярди людей померло, але факт залишається факт. Ніхто не може контролювати відро. The stress bucket, an analogy. Worrying, negative forecasting, negative thinking, lack of reassurance, vulnerability, size and strength of the bucket, coping strategies, holes, rest and relaxation, doing something you enjoy, rest and relaxation, stress, рівно the level of water in the bucket. Стресове відро представлено без коментарів. My English is perfect. Відро — це життя. Печерний малюнок. Хоча ми знаємо, що відра передували людству, але не знаємо наскільки. Цей печерний малюнок зображує відкриття ранньою людиною практичного використання відра, яке, ймовірно, існувало вже кілька тисячоліть. Зверніть увагу, що на цих малюнках відро дозволяє себе використовувати, визначаючи таким чином людство гідним його скарбів. Там он носить відро ззаді на палці, тут агроминне відро, яке 2 рази вище за людину, навіть, можливо, 2,5 рази вище за людину, і в 10 разів більше за шириною. Ні, ну, по суті, в 3 рази більше за шириною. А місткість, напевно, 10 людей 20. Так, тут капало щось. Люди підставили відро, і вода капала в відро. А тут кози п'ють з відра. Ахуєн. А там що було? А, точно, я ж сюди пішов. Йому, я вже заблудився. Жодна людина не гідна володіти відром, тим більше таким дивовижним, як це. Навпаки, людина мала б поклонятися відру. Підвішене відро. Цей експонат символізує необхідність відносин між відром та людством. Яким би повним не було наше розуміння відра, завжди є те, чого ми ніколи не осягнемо. Це неосяжність необхідна для нашого блага. Опа! Сюди. Але те, що ми таки зробили, це те, що ми маємо зробити разом, ти і я, і воно виправить цю жахливу помилку. Дай Стенлі померти, най машина розчавить його. Не перезавантажуй гру. Не даруй йому ще одну можливість втекти з іншим чудом. Ми можемо врятувати всі відра світу від ставлення. Варто нам лише дати Стенлі померти. Тоді відро посяде належне повелитель нового світу, якщо не буде. Він перезагрузив.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Так, цього разу я йду без наклейок. Ту, кажу, зникла без відра. В цю кімнату.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ще дві статуетки. Large room, lots of boxes. Так, ну там, де червона і синя, я знаю, де кімната, а large room, велика кімната. І багатько коробок. Відротопчик, да, я згідний. Бляха, я не знаю, де кімната з коробками.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. There was nothing here.
Тут нічого
No
немає,
choice to
жодного
make,
рішення,
no
жодного
path to
шляху,
follow,
просто
just an
пуста
empty broom
комірчина.
closet. No reason to still
Жодної
be
причини
here.
тут залишатися. Але я тут.
It was baffling that
Дивно, що
Stanley was
Станлі
still just sitting in the
залишався у
broom
коморі.
closet. He wasn't
Він
even
навіть
doing
нічого не
anything.
робив.
At least if there was
Якби там
something to
хоч було
interact with, he'd be
чим
justified in
взаємодіяти,
some
це
way.
можна було
As
б
it
хоч
is,
якось виправити.
he's
Зараз
literally
він просто
just
там
standing
стоїть,
there
приємно
doing sweet
байдикуючи.
FA.
Я завжди тут.
Are you really
Ти
still in the
справді
broom
до сих пор
closet?
морі?
Standing around
Стоїш
doing
нічого не
nothing?
роблячи? Чому?
Why? Please offer me some
Прошу, дай мені
explanation
якесь
here.
пояснення.
I'm
Я ще
genuinely
розбентежений.
confused. You do realize
Ти ж
there's no
розумієш, що
choice or
тут
anything in
нічого
here,
не
right?
має
If I'd
відбуватися.
said
Якби я сказав,
Stanley
Стенлі
walked
пройшов
past the
повз
broom
комірчину.
closet, at least you would have
У
had a
тебе
reason
хоча б
for
була
exploring
причина,
it
щоб
to find
дослідити
out.
це місце.
But it didn't even occur
Але
to
мені
me
це
because
навіть не спало на
literally
думку,
this
бо ця
closet
комара не
is of
має для історії
absolutely
зовсім
no
ніякого
significance to
значення.
the story whatsoever. I never would have thought
Я
to
б ніколи
mention
не
it.
подумав згадувати її. Але я завжди тут.
Maybe to you this is
Може, для тебе
somehow
це якесь
its
твоє
own
власне
branching
відгалуження
path.
історії?
Maybe when
Можливо,
you go
коли
talk
ти
about this with
говоритимеш
your
про це
friends,
зі
you'll
своїми
say,
друзями,
"Oh,
то...
did you
Ой, а
get
ви
the
поняли
broom
закінчення
closet
в
ending?
Проміченні?
The
Воно
broom
було
closet ending
моїм
was my
улюбимим.
favorite. I hope your
Сподіваюсь,
friends
твоїм
find this
друзям це
concerning.
видасться дивним.
Stanley was fat and
Стенлі
ugly
був
and
товстим,
really, really
огидним і
stupid.
дуже
He probably
дурним.
only got
Він,
the
мабуть,
job
і
because of
роботу
a family
отримав лише
connection.
завдяки
That's how
сімейним
stupid he
зв'язкам.
is.
От
That or
такий
with
він
drug
дурний, це
money.
або гроші з
Also, Stanley is
наркотиків.
addicted to drugs and hookers.
Це дуже погано. Оповідач.
Well, I've come to a very definite
Що ж, я дійшов
conclusion
до
about what's
вельми
going on right
висновку,
now.
що тут відбувається.
You're
Ти
dead.
мертвий.
You got to this broom
Ти зайшов у
closet,
цю
explored
комірчину,
it a
трохи
bit, and
роздивився,
were just
лише
about to
хотів
leave
йти, бо
because
тут
there's
нічого
nothing
немає.
here, when a
І
physical
коли якийсь
malady of
фізичний
some sort
розлад
shut
пошкодив
down
твою
your
центральну
central
нервову
nervous
систему,
system, and you collapsed
ти
on the
впав на
keyboard.
клавіатуру.
Well, in a situation
Що ж, у
like
такій
this,
ситуації
the responsible thing is to alert someone
відповідально було
nearby
б
so
повідомити
as to
когось
ensure
або
that your
впевнитися,
body is
щоб
taken
твої
care of
тіло
before it begins to
подбають, перш ніж
decompose.
воно почне.
Hello?
Аго,
Anyone who happens
хто-небудь
to be
поблизу?
nearby? The person at this computer
Людина за цим
is dead.
комп'ютером
They have fallen
мертва.
prey to any
Він або
number of
вона
your
є жертвою одного
countless
з
human
багатьох фізичних
physiological
пошкоджень, що
vulnerabilities.
притаманні
It's
вашому виду.
indicative
Це
of the
свідомить про
long-term
довготривале
sustainability of your
підтримання існування
species.
вашої раси.
Please remove
Прошу
their
усунути
corpse from the
з
area
комп'ютера та
and
доручити
instruct
іншій
another
людині
human to
зайняти
take
місце
their place,
цієї.
making sure they
Впевніться,
understand
що
basic
наступник розумітиме базову
first-person
механіку
video
ігор
game
від першої
mechanics
особи,
and filling them
а
in
також
on the
повідомте
history
про
of
сюжетні
narrative
ходи в
tropes in video
історії
gaming,
відеоігор.
so that the irony
Або іронія
and
та
insightful
проникливі
commentary
ремарки
of
в цій
this
грі
game
були
is
зрозумілими.
not lost on them. All right. When you've
Добре,
done
коли
that,
це
just step out
зробите,
into the
просто
hallway.
вийдіть у коридор. Все? Перезайти? Перезайти, типа, розпочати гру заново? Чи просто в кімнату? в кімнату.
Ah, second player. It's good to have you on board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you. You too? Unbelievable. I'm at the mercy of an entire
Я відданий на
species of
потал цілому
invalids.
виду
Perhaps
інвалідів.
there's a monkey
Може
nearby you
поблизу
can
є
hand the
якась
controls
мавпочка,
to.
котрій ти можеш
A fish?
передати управління, рибка, грибок.
Look, you can hammer
Можеш
out
не
the
вдаватися
details. I'm
в
not
деталі, я
particularly
не
picky.
особливо
I'll just be
прискіпуватися.
waiting for when
Просто
you're ready to
чекатиму,
pick
коли
up
ти
the
будеш
story
готовий
again.
продовжити історію. Бляха, я максимально його не слухав з самого початку, і вже майже 4 години я його не слухав. По суті. Ну, я думаю, 3 години і 10... Ні, 3,5 години я його взагалі не слухав. А інші 9 хвилин. Я плюс-мінус слухав його. Ні, то кажуть все.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music. Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Знову вниз. Але я вже без відра.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his
смерть.
violent
Без
death.
відра.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
А от і жорстока смерть. Піу.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the
Прощавай, Стенлі,
narrator, as
прокричав
Stanley was
оповідач,
led
поки
helplessly
Стенлі
into the
безпорадно
enormous
наближався
metal
до
jaws.
велетенських
In a
металевих
single
щелеп.
visceral
В одну
instant,
мить
Stanley was
машина
obliterated
знищила
as
Стенлі.
the
Вона
machine crushed
розтрощила всі
every
кістки в
bone in
його
his
тілі, і
body,
він помер
killing him
миттєво.
instantly.
Стенлі Парабел.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Коридору в цьому початковому фрагменті було дуже важливо знайти правильний темп. Коридор переміщати та змінювали, щоб гравець проходив до двох дверей саме тоді, коли треба. Модель офісу. Цей макет відтворює офіс з початку гри. Шлях від кабінету Стенлі до двох дверей став першим її готовим фрагментом. Хоч у процесі розробки додавалися та змінювалися різні секції, все ж базова модель майже не відрізняється від свого найпершого варіанту. Мій офіс. Цей спільний офіс, потім цей офіс. І... Ага, от. Там де вибір типа є. Двоє дверей. Ця пара відкритих дверей була першим чітким елементом концепції The Stanley Parable. Коли цю кімнату було створено, решта гри утворилася як її продовження, як дослідження тієї суперечності, яку вона задає. Шафки для паперів, офісні комп'ютери, виключте. Подяки, сценарій та дизайн. Дейві Реден і Вільям П'ю. Арт-директор, звукорежисер, головний і бездоганний Кеван Брайчтін у ролі оповідача. Додаткова розробка, координація тестування, продюсер, розробка для приставок Century Toys, на основі гри, команда The Stanley Parable 2013 року, додатковий дизайн, програмування, анімація, зовнішній вигляд, вебмайстер, Шейн, оригінальна музика, дизайн звуку. Дизайн модель і оригінальні художні роботи. Так, знову є два вибори. Годинник з офісу. Кабінет боса. Знятки, зроблені в ході розробки кабінету боса. Закінчення на волі. Це найперший варіант закінчення на волі, який був ще в альфа-версії гри. Стіл відліку. Один із столів ранньої версії, закінчені зі зворотнім відліком. Закінчення на волі. Ось так закінчення на волі виглядало в бета-версії. Ах ти ж, бля. Там лампочка хитається. Ліфт у кімнаті з моніторами. Раніше ліфт у кімнаті з моніторами міг рухатися вгору, де гравці вийшли б на волю, або вниз, де їх чекав зворотній відлік. Ми відмовилися від цієї ідеї, бо гравцям було важко запам'ятати, що на горі, а що внизу. Натомість ми об'єднали ці два значення. Вмкнути, вимкнути. Кімната відліку. Рання версія кімната відліку. Прототип ігрового дизайну. Дизайнер рівні Вільям зробив цей... Дизайнер рівнів Вільям зробив цей рівень та надіслав його сценаристу Деві як своє тестове завдання. Робота була виконана настільки якісно, що Вільям найняли на посаду дизайнера... Що за хуй? дизайнера всієї гри. Хоч багато чого було змінено, базова структура цього прототипу потрапила у фінальну версію. Мій кабінет. Кабінет Стенлі. Зліва направо показано, як змінювався кабінет Стенлі протягом часу. Перший було створено в листопаді 2011, 2 березня 2012, а третій в лютому 2013. Ага. 2 монітора, потім 1 монітор. Ясно, ясно. Ебать, тут ухуя кімнат, пізді. Це що таке? How do you stay in shape? Zero. Електронні листи оповідача. Збірка листів, бляха, засуджує. Кімната відпочинку. Блядь, хтось там десь працює. Ні, ну красиво, красиво. Поле бою. На ранніх етапах розробки ми придумали закінчення, в якому Стенлі воює з іншого пуття. А ця гра бойовик отримала власну свідомість та повстала проти оповідача. Однак, почавши роботу над нею, ми швидко зрозуміли, що це вже відверта клоунада, яка була б надто простою для загального тону гри. До того ж, декому здалося, що таким чином ми хочемо поглузувати з фанатів стрілянок, а такого задуму в нас не було. Alien Base, Evison. Машинка була. Ну, задум такий, бляха, ну, майже як Субнавтика щось нагадує. Так, ще один ліфт. Принтер, звісно ж. Технічний відділ. Рання версія технічного відділу. Офіс. Так. Офіс. Звуки кнопок. Збірка звуків натискання кнопок протягом гри. Кожен із них є поєднанням звука клавіатури та певної ноти на синтезаторі. Туру. Туру. Туру, туру, туру. Так, о, я ще тут не був. Кімната відпочинку. Під землею. Рання версія підземної частини гри. Escape. А, то там, де я повертаю наліво.
Stanley stood on the roof.
Ага. За 2 роки розробки, які він Брайтінг, який озвучував оповідача, записав 3 різні варіанти практично всього тексту.
Stanley stood on the snow.
Перед вами уривки з ранніх записів, які не потрапили в
Stanley
фінальну
walked over the bridge.
версію. Ясно, ясно. А, точно, точно, я ж там в одну кімнатку не зайшов. Закінчення на волі. Ні, стопе. Вот, ехід. Вихід. Ексайт.
Oh, look at these two.
Поглянь на цих
How they
двох,
wish
як
to
вони хочуть
destroy
знищити
one
одне
another.
одного, як вони хочуть
How they wish to
контролювати одне
control
одного.
one another. How they both
Як вони
wish to
обоє
be
хочуть
free.
бути вільним. Я так
Can you
поняв,
see? Can you see how much they need
оповідач
one another?
теж неволі.
No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save those two. You can
Я все
stop the
ще
program
можу
before they
зупинити
both fail.
програму, поки вони обоє
Push
не вб'ють
escape
один
and press
навіть з
quit.
них.
There's
Це
no
по
other
потім
way
вихід. Іншого способу перемогти цю гру немає. Поки рухаєшся вперед, ідеш чужим шляхом. Це буде твій єдиний справжній вихід. Щоб ти не робив, зроби свій вихід. Не дозволяй часом вирішувати за тебе. Так, Stanley Parable. Я думаю, я достатньо часу приділив цій грі. Зараз, я думаю, треба, так сказати, зробити паузу. В смислі, вже там скільки кінцівок було? Там же ж... Останній раз, ну давай, останній раз.
All of his co-workers what could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting
О, а
room.
де
Perhaps
загрузка
he had
була
simply
десь?
missed a memo.
Я загрузку там нажимав десь.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
That's...
Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled. He'd never be alone again, not truly alone, not with the bucket around. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Вліво, вийшов. Ні, я ще зайду в цю гру пограти. На стрім.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the
Вийшли на
bucket walked
сходи і
upstairs
піднялись
to
нагору
the
до
boss's
кабінету боса.
office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would. And he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845.
2, 8, 4, 5.
But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Бля, вниз.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Mind Control Facility. Блядь, чуть не впав. 101, 116, 117, 121.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible
Яку
secret did
жахливу
this place
таємницю
hold?
приховується
Stanley
місце,
and the bucket both
замислилися
wondered
Стенлі і
to
відро.
themselves.
Ёбушки, воробушки.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in
427.
shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped.
Вот мій
monitored like
кабінет.
guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Тут що? Вихід.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions
Ці питання дотошували в гарячковій свідомості Стенлі. Fired. 103, 104, 104 звільнений. І останній звільнений. А, точно.
No! He screamed
Крикнув
into the
він у відро.
bucket.
Він не
He
міг з
couldn't
цим
accept
змиритися.
his own life in someone else's
Щоб хтось
control.
той контролював його
Never!
життя. Ні за що. Він міцніше обхопив відро свого єдиного на цілий світ друга.
At this point,
Цієї
he
миті
could
він не
trust
довіряє
no
нікому,
one
окрім
except
відра.
for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions.
Значки з написом
Happy,
веселий,
or
сумний та
sad, or
вдоволений.
content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his
Досягнувши
past
брутальної
began to
реальність
sink
свого
in,
минулого,
Stanley
Стенлі
decided that
вирішив,
this
що хай там
machinery
як,
would
ця
never again
машинерія
exert
більше
its
не
terrible
відтворить
power
людське
over
життя
another
своєї
human life. For
жорсткій
he and the
власті.
bucket
Бо
would
вони з відром
dismantle the
демонтують
controls
ці
for
механізми
good.
остаточно.
Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up
Стенлі
against
відро
the world.
проти цілого світу.
They
Звучить,
high-fived in a
вони
really
круто
cool way,
вигадли.
and the bucket made a
Відро
sassy comment
видало
about taking
зухвалий
down
коментар
the system.
про повалення систем. Відро? А повалення системи як? Ні, не підскажеш? Алло, відро? Тут ще й ліфт є. Ні, тут не ліфт. Ладно, походу мені сюди. Facility Power. Фонарик нема? Mind controls idle waiting input.
When at last they came to the source
Коли
of the
самі
room's
відро нарешті
power,
наблизилися до
Stanley and the bucket
джерела,
knew
вони
it was
знали, що
their
це їхній
obligation
обов'язок.
to put an end to this
Покінчити із цим
horrible
страхітливим
place
місцем
and
і
to
всім, що за
everything
ним
it
стоїть.
stood for.
Оф? Типа. Стенлі відро чекали в темряві.
Was it over?
Чи вдалося їм?
Yes.
Так,
They had
вони
done it.
зробили це.
Stanley and the
Стенлі
bucket
та
had
відро
defeated
перемогли
their
свого
greatest and
найзапеклішого і
darkest enemy,
найзлішого
freed
ворога та
themselves from the
звільнили себе від
tyrannical
тиранічної
grip of the
хапки
evil
машини
mind
розумового
control
контролю.
machine. Freedom was
До
now
свободи
mere
було рукою
moments away.
сягнути.
Excitedly,
Ті
the two of
двійки
them began to
героїв
discuss
почали
the kind of
захоплено
life they wanted
обговорювати,
to live
як
once
вони
they
хочуть
stepped
жити
through this
після
massive
того, як
door.
пройдуть
The
крізь ці
bucket wanted to
масивні
learn to roller skate.
відро хотіло
Stanley wanted
навчитися,
to
а
sneeze
Стенлі
in
мріяв
every country on
шхнути в
earth.
усі
Both of them
країни
wanted to
світу.
begin
Вони
watching a
обидва
movie,
хотіли
any
подивитися
movie, but
фільм
then stop it halfway
з кінця у
through and
зворотньому
begin watching it in reverse from the
відтворенні.
end. True, it was a simple
Отаке
life they envisioned,
от
but it
просте
was
життя
one
вони
they'd lived
уявляли собі.
together, with one another to lean on,
Допомагати
to
одне
trust, to
одному,
support,
довіряти,
and
підтримувати, а також...
What? Wait,
Що?
what was happening?
А двері?
Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable
Кімната
silence filled
сповнила
the room,
нетерпна
lingering in
затяжна тиша,
uncertainty,
що віщувала
until finally
невизначеність.
the truth hit
Аж поки
Stanley
жахлива
square in the
правда
face.
нарешті не
This
вбила
building
Стенлі.
did
Ця
not
будівля не
want the
хотіла
bucket to leave.
відпускати від...
Even the facility
Навіть для цього
itself
приміщення
recognized the
присутність відра
incredible
була
calm presence of the bucket.
неймовірно заспокійла.
Needed the
Вона
soothing
потребувала
warmth
тепла і
of the
відразу.
bucket. Really lens not a
На
part
все
of the
тільки б відро
No,
залишилось.
no, no. Stanley can't leave
Ніяк
this
піти
place.
звідси.
Not while he has such a
Не міг,
precious
допоки
bucket
у його
in his
руках було
arms.
дорогоцінне
Not while this
відерце, не
building
міг,
has anything
допоки
to say
будівля
about
не
it.
була готова з ним
Stanley
попрощатися,
he
Стенлі
would
усвідомив,
never
що
again
ніколи
leave
не
this
зможе
very room.
залишити
But
цієї
at
кімнати.
least
Та
he
принаймні
has the
з ним
bucket.
було відерце.
To be trapped eternally
Провести
in
вічність
darkness
зв'язним
isn't
у
really so
темноті.
bad,
Це не
Stanley
так
thought to
погано,
himself.
подумав
As
собі
long as I
Стенлі.
have my
Аби лише
bucket with me,
відерце
right?
було зі
I'll
мною.
be
Зі
okay,
мною все
won't
буде
I?
файно, правда?
Stanley gulped.
Стенлі
Very soon
глибнув.
now.
Відповідь він
about to
дізнається
find
вже
out.
дуже скоро. Закінчення? Welcome, Stanley, to heaven. А вони відтискаються. Все? Піздець. What's up?